slow. Island by island, they're letting the old ways go. Decriminalization, 2 ounces in your hand. From Kingston to St. Kitts, across the sand. They're building industries, the medicine is gold. The colonial prohibition is finally growing old. But down in Dominica, the plan still brings the cuffs. And justice moves in rhythms that are never fast enough. But what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before there was a fee to pay? They're catching charges still today, while businessmen get rich. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's the paradox they pitch. Drum and debate, drum and debate. They built this on our suffering, now they wanna erase. Drum and debate, drum and debate. The same plant that fed our soul now locked behind a gate. Hey, Jamaica led the way back in 2015. 5 plants per household, the first to make it clean. St. Vincent opened up the medicinal trade, but the application fees too heavy to be paid. Trinidad says 30 grams, but 4 plants is a crime. 10 years behind the prison wall, still doing time. And in Antigua, 15 grams, the limit's drawn so low. The Rastafari cultivator still got nowhere left to go. But what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before there was a fee to pay? They're catching charges still today, while businessmen get rich. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's the paradox they pitch. Drum and debate, drum and debate. They built this on our suffering, now they wanna erase. Yeah, drum and debate, drum and debate. The same plant that fed our soul now locked behind the gate. They call it sacramental use in the law books now, a license for a Rastafari. But tell me how, when registration costs more than a farmer ever see, and the ones who held the knowledge ain't the ones with the degree. Professor Antoine said it clear, the little man is left. The CARICAM report called it obsolete and unjust. But 7 years have passed and the patchwork still remains. The ones who bore the heaviest weight still carry all the chains. St. Kitts gave the Freedom of Conscience Act, coming forward, that's a fact. But down in Dominica, no decrum in sight. And the symposium talk just fades into the night. Emmanuel Alexander stood up and he said, don't settle for the free license, lift the way instead. You're fighting for something bigger than the paper that they signed. The sacrament was freedom long before it was a fine. So what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before?
And greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment Network. It's another beautiful Tuesday evening here in Oli and La Amiga. Oli, the indigenous name for the island known as Nevis, and Layamiga, the indigenous name for the island known as St. Kitts. We also want to say good evening to our brothers and sisters throughout the entire Eastern Caribbean, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Some one of those greetings would be applicable depending on where you are throughout the globe. This evening, as usual, my co-host Shabazz Bankie King is in with us, and we have a very, very special guest here in our presence this evening, Dr. Celvin G. Walwyn, former top cop here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, former assistant top cop in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and in more recent times, top cop in Texas, USA. So we look forward to a very, very informative and engaging discussion this evening. We are going to be touching a lot of different things, and you're going to be learning a lot of different things about this brother who had a very humble beginning here in the Caribbean and in St. Kitts and Nevis, to be specific. Went over to the U.S. Virgin Islands, then moved on to the mainland in the U.S., and then returned and worked in these territories, and then is back in the mainland, still making his contribution in many different ways that we will learn about this evening. So I'm encouraging you guys who are logged in this evening to get your coffee, get your popcorn, get your whatever it is. Even those who make use of the Holy Sacrament, get your spliff as well and get ready for the discussion. It's gonna be interesting. Trust me, it's gonna be exciting. And so call a friend, tell a friend. This is one night you need to get over to the YouTube platform, subscribe, click on the notification bell, and share the link to every and anybody this evening. We also want to say a special good evening to our sponsors, Islander Water Sports, and On the Rocks. That's Islander Water Sports. That's the good guys there at the OLEC Water Taxi. They take you over to St. Kitts via the Reggae Beach and the Ole Beach dockings. Get you over there in 5 to 6 minutes. Also, if you want to get to any one of the neighboring islands, St. Martin, Sable, Statia, Anguilla, they're available for charters. And if it's late night, even outside of their schedule, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and you need to get over for whatever reason, you can call the folks at Islander Water Sports, and they will take care of your transportation needs ferry-wise between St. Kitts and Nevis. And if you are on Nevis and you're waiting to get over on the ferry, or if you just want to, enjoy the sunset at a beautiful setting, On the Rocks is a perfect place for you to have, whether it's a drink with a friend, enjoy some of their fresh caught fish of the day or seafood of the day that they would have on the menu, and you can enjoy a wonderful meal while you overlook the ocean, overlooking St. Kitts' beautiful view of the sunset. So we want to say thanks to the good folks, and we want to encourage you to go on out and patronize their business, patronize the Islander Water Sports, tell them the good folks here at Real Entertainment Network and on the Topiks would have sent you. With that said, I also want to say good evening to our folks who usually log on, whether it's on the Facebook or the YouTube or on Twitch TV. We want to say thank you for those who are going to be making your comments. We definitely look forward to your comments. So log in early. If you have questions, put them in early so we could get to them. And we're going to try to open up the lines early as well so that you can get in with whatever questions. But tonight you would have to excuse us because I think we're going to we're going to give our guests a lot of time to express himself, and we would have some questions for the guests as well. So we're really looking forward to an interesting engagement. Bankie, good evening. Welcome to this evening's edition of The Topiks.
Yes, and good evening to you, and good evening to our guests who are listening to Real Entertainment Network. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. You could have been listening to any other media house or any other station, but you choose Real Entertainment Network. And the topic shows that you have that interest in what we do here and the type of guests that we have when it comes to educating the folks in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but also throughout the diaspora and internationally, because most times we all and having the same issues when it comes to agriculture or any issues, education, and whatever it is basically the same stuff. So we're not taking the folks that tuning in for granted, because those are the ones who make the show very possible and for what we're doing here. So gratitude is really just not enough. And it's a pleasure having our guest. Definitely looking forward for that reasoning, because he was someone, when he was here doing his work, when he was employed, I really admired the way how his policing strategy was, because he have more of a community policing. And I've realized that. And I've realized, living in Crodocrode in the town area, I can telling you, sometimes I in my own yard, I may have to drop on the ground because these guys got some kind of floodlight. They're poaching around. I want to know, what the hell is that? It's like breaking up the whole kind of. I live in the back of Crodocrode, half down in the bush area. So when the police coming through in the evening and they're pushing on the spotlight around you, from since he left, I haven't seen them anymore. From since he left, I haven't seen the presence of the people in Crodocrode walking through Ramsbury no more. And that is facts. I haven't seen any police walking to Crodocrode since they have left, to Crodocrode, to Stony Grove, nothing like that. He was a hands-on operator. When I say that, he lead his team, not in his office, he's on the street. And he's very easy to talk to, very easy to approach, blow my mind. Okay? So I'm just speaking in front of him, because I didn't always speak I never spoke in front of him like this, but I always speak this way, because I love to sit and observe and show people. And his way of policing works. It was different, so sometimes you get a backlash from the community and stuff like that, because we'll come out in the street full speed, gun in his hand, because if it's a crime, that's how it's supposed to be in the US. Down here, we look at things different and say it's being radical, but it's not being radical. Because remember, it's a high crime situation at that time. So it means safety is key. But people don't get these things. But I just had to say that, so at least to set the tone, to know who we're dealing with. So it's an honor having him on our show. From since he left, I don't remember seeing his presence much in the community when he come in the media and stuff like that. So Real Entertainment is very grateful for Mr. Walwin to make some time and of his busy schedule to sit with us and have this conversation. So he's definitely would have a lot of people tuning in and hear what he have to say, because he's well respected here and left a great impact in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I just want to give him his gratitude and for the great work he have done, because I see it myself and I see the change when he have left. So it shows that we really want change, but we're not ready for someone like him, because his approach of dealing with things to make things work is still, I guess, we're not accustomed to it, but I understand where he was coming from. So, Mr. Walwin, it's a pleasure having you. And how are you doing, sir?
Good evening, and thank you all for inviting me here. As you know, I am a native of St. Kitts and Nevis. My mother was born on St. Kitts, but my grandparents are from Gingerland. We come from the Walwyn on my grandfather's side. But on his mother, come from the Herberts. Sojourner is my cousin. And in Gingerland, you know Louise. That's my uncle's daughter. So we have roots in Nevis, the Williams over in Fountain, the Pennies. That's my grandmother. And I remember one time I was in Nevis, we were giving Nevis a motorcycle and a bicycle for the patrol officers in Cotton Ground. And Stafford Liebert, the deputy commissioner then, he said, he ain't from here. He ain't from here. See, that's a little crucial. He ain't from here. And an old woman in the audience says, "Nah, don't forget, tell them you're a Claxton." I forgot. Well, I forgot because my grandmother, she was a Williams, but her cousin was Arnold Balakan. Some people don't know who that is, but Arnold Balakan, his name was Arnold B. Claxton. People would call him once they hear Balakan, but Claxton. So I'm related to Claxton, Swanson's, Walwyn's, Herbert's. My grandfather's mother was Alice Herbert, and her mother was married to an Elliot. So Rodney is my cousin too. So I'm related to most everybody and the body,
Beautiful.
Mary Body was my great grandmother out of Nevis. So
Okay.
I got my roots there. I was born in St. Kitts on Birch Street. My dad was from Antigua. He was one of those cops. He was a station sergeant in Nevis, but he came in from Antigua after the war and settled in St. Kitts. And that's how I was born. I was born, as a matter of fact, right next to the police station in Bastille.
Quite interesting.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
here's what I'm gonna do, right? I'm going to give the audience a brief bio because we would have taken a little bit of time and do a little research on you. And so we're gonna give a brief
Okay.
bio, and then we're gonna allow you to correct or add anything to what we would have had, and also allow you to continue where you have already started in terms of giving your history now so that people could get a deeper perspective of where you came from and who your people are, which you have already started. And then we can get into some of the story of how you got into what you got into, and a little
Okay.
bit more of the man himself, because you're also writing a book at this point as well too. And
Yes.
so we will get
Yes.
into some of all of that as we have this discussion. So um, with that said, we are honored to welcome a man whose name has become synonymous across the Caribbean and the United States with law enforcement, discipline, leadership, crime fighting, and public service. Dr. C.G. Walwyn. Born and raised in humble beginnings, Dr. Walwyn's story is one of perseverance, determination, and transformation. Rising from modest circumstances to positions of major authority internationally, he has built a career spanning decades in policing, criminal justice, public safety, leadership, development, and community engagement. Dr. Walwyn's first earned recognition through his distinguished law enforcement career in the United States Virgin Islands, where he served in several senior capacities and developed a reputation as a tough but strategic crime fighter. His work there exposed him to complex issues involving gang violence, narcotics trafficking, youth crime, and community policing within Caribbean societies facing many of the same social challenges experienced throughout the region. His expertise and leadership eventually led him to serve as Commissioner of Police on St. Kitts and Nevis, where he became one of the most visible and discussed law enforcement figures in the Federation's modern history. During his tenure, the country was battling escalating violent crime, gang activity, illegal firearms, and concerns surrounding narcotics and organized criminal networks. As commissioner, Dr. Walwyn introduced aggressive anti crime strategies, intelligence driven policing, community outreach initiatives, modernization efforts within the police force, and regional as well as international cooperation with agencies abroad. Supporters viewed him as a firm and proactive leader willing to confront crime head on during one of the Federation's most challenging periods. His critics sometimes debated aspects of policing tactics and policy, but few denied that he brought intensity, structure, and international experience to the role. Outside of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Walwyn also continued to build connections between Caribbean law enforcement agencies and international policing institutions, particularly in the United States. Through these relationships, he assisted with training opportunities, professional exchanges, security cooperation, and capacity building that benefited officers and institutions back home. Following his service in the Federation, Dr. Walwyn went on to continue his professional journey in the United States, including law enforcement work in Texas, where he further expanded his experience dealing with policing in large and highly diverse American environments often shaped by issues of race relations, systematic inequality, immigration, gang culture, firearms, and the evolving debate surrounding modern policing in America. Tonight, we speak not only to a former top cop, but to a Caribbean son who has navigated systems of power internationally, experienced policing from the islands to the mainland United States, and whose life story offers lessons in resilience, discipline, service, controversy, leadership, and transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the topics, Dr. C.G. Walwyn. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the platform. And we now grant you the microphone and the opportunity to, like I said earlier, to add to or correct anything that we would have highlighted in the bio, and give you the opportunity now to expound a bit more on your story, your bringing. You would have shared your Nevis connections, and you were getting a bit now into your St. Kitts connections. And I am a bit biased to some extent because you'd have given me the opportunity to look at the draft copy that you're making. So it gives me a kind of opportunity to pump you in ways that maybe others might not be able to pump you through the discussion. But I'll seek to do that as well as get into a bit of what you're going to explain to us. So we look forward to hearing your story. I would have done a lot of concealing of information as well that we're going to get into, even to my colleagues, and my co-hosts and my other team members on Real Entertainment Network. And so we're going to get into that musical side as well too. So the platform is yours. Good evening. Welcome to the platform.
Good evening, everyone, again. As he said, my name is Dr. C.G. Walwyn. I am a native of the Federation. But before I go, I want to, there's a young lady who was trying to call me just now from Dallas. So someone in Dallas is looking at your show and they'll try to call and answer the phone because it cut off the picture. So I'm listening. She's from Nevis. I'm not being rude to you. I'm on the air. And if I answer the phone, it'll disconnect the meeting we're having now.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here on this show. As a little boy growing up in St. Kitts, I never knew that I would be here where I am today. You mentioned something a while ago. You said diversity and being in other places. I'm here in a town that's between San Antonio, Texas, and Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm 2 hours from San Antonio in one direction and 1 hour from Corpus Christi in the other direction. Corpus Christi is by the seawater. But if I make a right and I drive 2 hours, I'll be in Mexico. I'm the only black cop they have. I'm the only black police officer they have here in this county.
Really?
Yeah. They have a state trooper that just came in. He's an African. He's a state.
Okay, seem like some issues there, Yahsonnn. You might pause, Yahsonnn.
Sorry, yes, he's having a little bit of technical difficulty on his side. I don't know. Maybe the person call in, because remember he said that somebody's trying to call him. And so, folks, if you're listening, Mr. Walwin is using his phone right now to do this interview, and we really would appreciate having his undivided attention this evening for the program.
If they need to call, better call my number, one of us number, if anything.
You can wait until the next 2 hours. Just give him a break for the next 2 hours so that he can be with us and have this discussion. Bankie, I mean, it's quite interesting. It's really quite interesting, and we haven't even gone to the tip of the iceberg yet, with some of the things that we anticipate hearing from C.G. Walwyn, and so we really look forward. In the meantime, I guess I would just go through some of the comments so far that we have on the YouTube platform. So we have J. Bedford says good night. Gotty Brown says, do you feel your stint in St. Kitts was successful or you needed more time. Oliver Libert says, hi, Yahsonnn, Bankie, and also CG Walwyn. I'm here tonight, bro.
That's
Okay.
right. Good evening, Oliver.
Greetings, everybody. Yes, he said, Gigi Williams Keith is saying his video is frozen. Yes, we recognize that, and I think he did mention that somebody was trying to call him, and so I think probably he got cut off by that call. Okay, yes, you're back. Your audio, you need to turn on the microphone now.
It's good now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we're hearing
loud
you
and
now.
clear.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that people ask me if I'm a real cop because they have never seen a black cop in this area. The bad thing is that I'm not just a cop, I'm the chief of police.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah. I go to meet my area. I'm at a college, but they have 4 different campuses. My area is 10,000 square miles. And so I'm a cop, I'm a chief of police in 4 different cities. Because of the colleges in 4 different cities, I'm a chief of police in 4 different cities in South Texas. And so I go from one city to the next, and people look at me because I have the same power as their local police chief. But I'm a black guy because there's no black. I'm a member of an organization, the police officers in this area, and I'm the only black person. Sometimes my wife is with me. We're the only black law enforcement out of 500 people in the area. So I'm accustomed to that.
Wow.
So when I came home to St. Kitts, I heard you mention earlier about the differences in perception with how I did my work. A lot of people see me not as a person from St. Kitts. They see me as a stranger coming in. I remember one time when I had that gun in my hand and I got out on the scene and it made the newspaper. This young lady said, "Go back where you come from. We don't want you here." And another lady pulled her aside and said, "Girl, he born here." And what was so funny was I was born about 3 blocks from where she was telling me to go back where I come from. So I didn't know if she meant go back on the plane or go back over where I was born, and that was the perception. But I've been in law enforcement for almost 40 years here in Texas. Even when I came to St. Kitts, I kept my police commission going. I've served as police chief or police commissioner. This is my 2nd time in Texas, and I'm going to be leaving within a few months to just go home and let it go. But my wife and I, we are going to be running a private investigation business in Houston where we will be working for the defense. I'm going to take what I learned as a police officer and bring it over to the defense side. So if police officers are dirty or if police officers don't do their job, I'll be able to scan those reports, and see where the difference is. I believe in being a good police officer. I believe in doing my job. There's one thing that nobody can say about me is that they ever caught me being dirty about anything. I've always done my job right. As a result, here in Texas, I was the 100 Club Officer of the Year, which is the highest award you could get as a cop because it memorialized police officers who were killed in the line of duty. And I got that award. In Houston, when I worked for the sheriff office, I also made Deputy of the Year out of 5,000 cops. When I worked in Orlando, 4 years in a row, out of 2,500 officers, I made Deputy of the Year. So I do quality work wherever I go. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling it like it is. And I came from up the village in Bastia, and I didn't know that I would have this, but the ethics that were placed in me in St. Kitts, I brought those with me. When I write my book, we're gonna have you're gonna see a portion in there when I was in St. Croix. I was 13 years old, and this teacher pulled me aside one day, and she said to me, were you born? I said, I was born in St. Kitts. She said, no, you weren't born in St. Kitts. I said, ma'am, I was born in St. Kitts. She said, no, you weren't born in St. Kitts. I said, miss, why you saying me ain't born in St. Kitts? She said, because St. Kitts children don't get these kind of grades.
Wow.
I was doing poorly in school, not because I couldn't do better, but because I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. And she knew that as a Kittitian child, we do better. And she pulled me
Yes.
up, and I did better. Today I have a PhD, but it wasn't easy getting here. But it was that determination, the things we learned in St. Kitts and Nevis that we took with us when we went abroad. That's why I'm here. That's why I can get a job any place I want to, anywhere I want to, because I'm good at what I do. But the main thing that you will hear them talk about is my work ethic. And I got that from St. Kitts and Nevis, and also while living in St. Croix.
Beautiful.
Man, you are well decorated. Many people may know the officer and administrator, but not the young man before the uniform. You told us a little bit
Yeah.
about your upbringing, but what challenges shaped your mentality?
When I went to St. Croix, I left from a house with 10 bedrooms on Buckley site, Walwyn Avenue, named after my grandfather, who was born in Nevis, River Walwyn, contractor. If you drive around St. Kitts, you'll see like the memorial, the square, uh, the hospital. Matter of fact, Lozak Road, the entrance into Lozak Road, all that stonework. My grandfather was famous for that. He was a stonemason. But I grew up in St. Croix, and I went from living in a house with 10 bedrooms with flush toilet inside, to going to have to use the bathroom outside. And I learned very early that it's not where you live, is what your vision is. And I tried to go to St. Thomas to live with one of my aunts. But when I got over there, they told me I couldn't go to school because I wasn't born in St. Thomas. And so if I want to go to school, my mother had to pay money for me to go to school. And she didn't have the money. So at 16 years old, I dropped out of high school, not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. Because when I got back to St. Croix, they said, at 16, you can't go back to high school. And so I had to wait until I took the GED 5 years later. And I got such a high grade that they gave me my actual high school diploma. And then I started going to UVI. Back then it was called CBI. I took some courses, but got married, forgot about a whole lot of stuff. So when I got to Texas, when I did become a police officer, and we can go into that later if you want, when I did become a police officer, every 20 hours of classroom training that you had in Texas, it equaled to 1 college credit. And so I had enough training to where I had the equivalent of a master's degree in criminal justice while I worked for the sheriff office in Houston. And they paid me for a master's degree. But in 2003, decided to move to Florida. And when I got to Florida, they told me, we don't accept that here. That's a different state. So I had to start over from scratch. So I ended up going back to school. And I just stayed in school until I ended up with a PhD. And I graduated summa cum laude, which is the highest you can with the degree. And so I graduated summa cum laude with highest honors. So I like to tell people I went from a GED to a PhD. And I tell youngsters, where you start is not where you have to end up. I could have been selling drugs if I wanted to, because that was the atmosphere where I was. I have never marijuana, for the record. I am a police chief. You can see by my collar, I have my stars on my collar telling you I'm a police chief. All right? I have not smoked marijuana, but I don't believe in some of the things that I'm seeing when it comes to marijuana. And I know the history of marijuana in the United States. If you ever get a chance, and this is for the general public, they can Google the LaGuardia, like LaGuardia Airport in New York, the LaGuardia report. They need to go and look up the LaGuardia report, and they will see where all the hype and negativism about marijuana came from. And from then until now, it's been happening. we now have states, because in America we have the United States of America. So these are all states in America, but they are united. So we have the United States of America, but every state can make its own rules as it relates to marijuana. And so now we are seeing some of these states have now done that. Here in Texas, in Houston, where I basically grew up as a young man, there was a DA, district attorney, which would be your DPP. She would not take any charges on anyone who had less than 4 ounces of weed. If you had 4 ounces of weed and the police caught you, she would not take the charge. So it was surprising to see that a place like this, which doesn't believe in leniency, and I've been a cop here for many years, 40 years as a cop in Texas, doesn't believe in leniency, to see that when it came to marijuana, they were not willing to arrest people and charge them or destroy their lives for less than 4 ounces of weed. But look at the Caribbean, and I'm seeing they are doing this to people still. What bothered me, one day I was sitting in my office, I saw this young man, Bankie, speaking to some police officers. And I used to lead that police department in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I remember in Nevis, Dr. Denzel Douglas, when he was the prime minister, he had a town hall with Tessa Howell. Tessa Howell invited us to a town hall, and we went. And one of the topics was about marijuana. And so I recommended, instead of arresting people for weed, was to go ahead and write them a citation and let them go. Don't lock up nobody for no weed. Go ahead and write them a citation until you can change the law. And it bothers me now to see that I saw this young man with some police officers, and it was not a regular conversation. I'm a cop. I'm a chief of police, and I've worked undercover. I'm an advanced narcotics officer here in Texas, so I know all about drugs. And I heard him trying to tie this young man up, trying to get him to say something that they wanted him to say so they can take action. But he knew what he was doing, and he kept them on their toes. And that led me to write a song, and it led me to do research on cannabis, the sacrament in the Caribbean. So if anybody's hearing a song about Bankie Banks, I wrote it. I know I'm a chief of police, but right is right and wrong is wrong. And what they did to that young man should not have happened. It's my lights went out.
Yes, hold on a second. I think a good time.
Can y'all see me still?
Yes.
Yes, we can see you. Yes.
We'll have the technician play that song right now. So technician, if you're listening, let's give us a piece of that song that he's talking about, and then we could get back into the discussion with CG Walwyn. For those who are listening, remember we are sponsored by Island Water Sports, and On the Rocks here on Nevis. Technician, if you're listening, I'm just buying some time for you, so you can just bring it in whenever you can if you're there. If not, then we will just continue. But want to say good night to all of the folks who are logged in. Let's talk to some of the comments that we have here. Jetty Taylor says, there will never be another Spooners. That man shaped my life as a little boy. I was afraid of that man.
That's I said that, I think.
No. You know Vincent Spooners. You know who he's talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know Spooners. Okay. Used to run from him.
you used to run from him too?
Oh, yeah. And my father was superintendent of police. My father was superintendent of police, and I used to run from Spooners.
So he said there will never be a Spooners, and then Gigi Williams Keith says he traumatized you. This is when your video was frozen. Cheech Warner says listening. Original Lyrics says blessed evening, guys. On the job, logged in. Oliver Leibert says hi, Yahsonnn Bankie. Also, Dr. CG Walwyn, I'm here tonight. Joy King says good evening. Manu SK Agui says, blessed night, Bankie Yahsonnn, good to see and hear you, CG. J Breadfood says, only Bankie. J Breadfood says, Bankie got a commissioner of police to write him a ganja song. I am loving this, bro. Hey, yes, but yes, go ahead, check this out.
That's the end of it. Okay.
Let me sing about the Nevis man, a true Rasta, living off the land, that's his mantra. Name is Bankie Yahsonnn. Hear me well, got a patch of green and a story to tell. One morning peace was the order of day, till a policeman came to block the way. Warrant in hand, looking stern and grand. Bankie just lean on his hoe and stand. They asked Farmer Bankie, what you doing here? He said, cultivating what I hold dear. This is my medicine, this is my tea. This is the gift that Jah give to me. They say, but the law don't see it that way. Bankie said the law changed one day. Down to the courthouse in the heat of the sun, Bankie tell the magistrate, work just begun. I grow for the elders, for the aches and pain. I grow for the young who walk in the rain. This ain't no commerce, this ain't no vice. This is Nevis tradition, it have a price. Now here's the irony, the whole island know. They approve the farming, they promote the show. Same ones who clap, turn around and see. But the farmer's still standing, taking the breeze. The magistrate nod, say you can play your part. Go on to the show, let the music start. Bankie thank the court, give a little smile, but his confiscated parts them keep a while. So he walk on stage with his head held high, sing about the land beneath the Nevis sky, yeah. Them take the part, but not the soul. Bankie stand, he in control. What he plan, truth and right. What they keep, a losing fight.
All right, people. Hold it, selector. We got this. We got this right here. I'm telling you, people. This is practice. I mean, I remember when I heard this song first, right? I mean, I think I was the one who brought it to the platform. I brought it to the attention of the platform, but I honestly didn't know that you were the art of the track. We heard the track and we were saying, I remember Bankie saying to me, all the time, bye, I would love to know who is the art of this song here, because
Of
whoever it
course.
is, they have a well put together song. And I remember when
Yes.
I was reaching out to you, Dr. Walwyn, to come on the program, and we're having this discussion, and you tell me, man, yeah, man, it's me write that song. I was like, what? Like, no, man, you gotta be kidding.
Yes.
So I have been holding
Yes.
out on these guys, just like how the audience is hearing this for this evening. This is the first time
Uh-huh.
Bankie is knowing that this song was written by C. Walwyn, C. Walwyn,
Yes.
and the rest of the network. So I knew for a little bit now, but I kind of kept it and tried to hold it back as much as possible because I really wanted the audience to get the buzz of it as well. And so he's giving us just a
Yes.
while ago, prior to playing the track, he was giving us the rationale or the reasoning behind putting the
Yes.
song together.
Yes.
And I am hopeful that those who are at the helm of the police force at this point recognize and listen to this program and listen to what you are saying and what you were saying when you were on the ground. And I mean, one of the things that bothers me a little bit as well too is the fact that the Sankofa Maccabee case versus the police commissioner case, which would have been Ian Healy at the time, who was the commissioner of police, the Judge Ventos, addressed the issues that relates to Bankie's case and Jama's case, where they're two Rastafari brethren, well-known Rastafari brethren in the community of Nevis as well. And the Constitution would have made it clear what should happen after they recognize Rastafari as a religion and also as they recognize cannabis as a sacrament. So why are they still seeking to do this kind of thing baffles me. And you, who is a former police commissioner, I mean, not just in Nevis, assistant police commissioner in the US Virgin Islands, who you deal with these things, and presently still in Texas, where you seemingly are known for, based on the research, that these are some of your specialty areas, dealing with drugs, dealing with gangs, dealing with crime, and so on. And here is it that this is your commentary on an issue like this. So I'm going to allow you to continue on that and also to speak to the other track, the one that we started with as well, which speaks to cannabis and what has been done,
Sacrament.
not just in Nevis, but regionally, because there's a Caribbean document that you would have shared with me as well, which I really didn't have privy to prior to you providing me that access as well too. So I want to give thanks to you for that bit of information as well.
Actually, I wrote that document.
Interesting. See, I didn't know that. I know you sent it to me, so I read it as but I really didn't know that.
I did the research. A lot of folks don't know. Like I said, I have never smoked weed in my life. I've never done any kind of drugs. I don't even drink. I don't eat meat. I stopped eating meat since 1973. I eat fish, but I don't eat meat. Fish is the only thing, and they must come out of the sea. All right? But right before I left St. Kitts, CARICOM made me a medical marijuana commissioner. I was the only police commissioner from the Caribbean on that panel. And the reason why they appointed me is because of what I'm telling you now. I've had these views since I was in St. Kitts. And so I brought those views to CARICOM and they appointed me. But because I left to go back to the States, I was removed from the panel, which is only right because I was no longer Caribbean. I was now American. All right.
Yes.
In the U.S. Virgin Islands, Senator Nelson, Positive Nelson, his roots are from St. Kitts Nevis. He pushed the bill for marijuana reform, and I, during COVID, was also on that panel in the Virgin Islands, helping to establish reform. So I've been doing this for a long time. The problem is I notice in the Caribbean, the non-American Caribbean, is that everybody is afraid to do something because a lot of the monies that they get, and I can say that because I was the commissioner of police in a British place, in a non-American place, a lot of the monies they get from overseas is tied to eradication of marijuana. So if you look, they are willing to let you have a half a gram, let you have a gram, But if it looks like you're going to have a couple of trees, they want to make sure you don't have it. Or they're telling you, we have no problem with you getting into the marijuana game, but you're going to have to pay us X amount of dollars to get that permit to do so. And the problem is what they're charging you for that permit is more than you're going to ever make selling that weed. Because what they're doing is buying up all the weed from these areas as a conglomerate. And I know this because about 5 years ago, I invested in weed in Canada because the law was changed and I knew people were going to be smoking weed. So I bought stock in weed and I made a lot of money in the stock market until the weed started falling off. So I just took my money out. But my point I'm saying is there's money to be made in weed, but you and me on this level will never see that money. It's the people above us who can afford to pay for it. They are the ones that's going to do that. And then what they're also going to do is make sure that you and me at the bottom will never have the capital it would take to get that permit. So now you and I are going to get stopped with a pound of weed and we go into jail. We get stopped with, I think Trinidad said if you have more than 10 trees, in St. Kitts, I believe you can only have, 4 trees? Something like that. Okay, so if you catch me with 6, do you arrest me or do you let me cut it up so I could smoke it? These are the things that we have to look at. What is the benefit to incarcerating our young men behind weed? Let me tell you a story about here in America. I can commit a murder right now and I can go to prison and I can get my degree while I'm in prison. But if I'm a college student and I get caught with 1 joint on this campus, I lose all of my scholarship money because I got caught with weed. I can kill somebody and still get my degree. But if I get caught with 1 spliff, I'm kicked out of college. And that money that will help me to pay for my education is gone. That shouldn't be happening.
That's deep. That's deep. And I think it is good that you're able to bring some of these issues to the fore that sometimes we don't take into consideration when we're looking at
have a call here.
When we're looking at issues. Yes, we can take the caller, yes,
All right.
no problem. Good evening, caller.
Caller, good evening.
Your mic is muted, Bankie, so you need to. Your mic is muted still. Not hearing you, Bankie. So it seems as if something has happened on Bankie's side. But in the meantime, while Bankie gets himself
Okay.
sorted.
So in America, most of the states, like Colorado, when you are able to sell marijuana in your store.
Hold on a second, Mr. Walwin. You're back, Bankie?
Yes, I'm back. Can you hear me?
The caller, yes. So the caller could start again.
Caller, go ahead. Yes, sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
And bless to the family and give thanks for the Bankie for the reason and give thanks for the Yahsonnn for the reason. And blessing to you, former commissioner. May the love of the Almighty bless you and keep you safe. But why calling for? Because it's very important to see that you're outlining all of these details. But we just like to say, let me correct you straight out of the box. We not use no marijuana, we use it herb. We don't know drug lord. So let me let you know that for the commissioner, we don't know drug lord, so don't class us in that category there because herb is not a pattern of no drug. Just like how you outline all the emphasis of the economics that you can relate, we will echo in the emphasis of the spiritual aspiration that we deal with in using the herb. So we like to say to you, seeing that you outline about thief in Canada with the stock exchange, with how they make a lot of money on the use of the herb sale. And these money, I would like to ask, were these money in the formation of the United States stock exchange in the market as you outlined here? So, because I realize we've seen a lot of legislation formulated from the narcotic agents, and we're still seeing so much businesses of creating in the produce of herb. So we are standing on the notion, because even though you talk about these people who hire, we realize we have seen a lot of double standard using at the phase of the economic pattern to our people down in the Caribbean region. And that is where the problem are certain when it comes to the banking institution. So we'd like to see where you can outline the issue and the aspect of that moment that you had experience for that same stock exchange, and is a formation of banking structure too. Give thanks.
All right, give thanks, Carla.
All right,
That's a good point.
I'll answer him. And I was about to bring that up right before he came on.
Nice.
When I bought the stock, it was out of Canada. That's when I bought the stock. It was for Canada. But if y'all noticed, about a few weeks ago, the federal government has just reduced the title for marijuana in the United States. Let's say it was a felony. They have reduced it to a lesser, quite possibly down to a misdemeanor. What is happening with monies from marijuana in America? If the bank is insured by the federal government, they cannot take the marijuana money. It has to be a state-insured bank. Otherwise, they cannot put it in a bank that has FDIC insurance. And so a lot of places that they do this, they can't take the money to the bank. So what they are hoping now is, based on the legislation that they're trying to introduce, is that it will be okay to start putting the money in the federal banks. Until that happens, it's going to be a problem. And that's why individual states, they have their own rules. It's a United States, but each state is individual. And so each state has their own rule, their own banking rules, but now they need a federal rule that says, just like cryptocurrency, when it first started, they didn't want to touch it. Now you can do what you want with it since Trump's been in. So hopefully now they will make the law that you can put the money in the federally insured banks. And once that happens, marijuana will rise up to the top for the common man.
Okay, I think one of the things that he was alluding to as well, but I guess it's just because of the fact that it's the way it is referred to most times. From the Rastafari perspective, we see the word marijuana to be, as they put it, derogatory. So we prefer to use whether it's cannabis or herb.
Oh, cannabis.
So
Okay.
I guess that's one of the things that he was looking at when he was saying, don't try to label it as no drug and so on, because that's what they did in terms of trying to make it look like it is something bad. So when he spoke of the LaGuardia,
LaGuardia. Yeah. LaGuardia. Like LaGuardia Airport? Yeah,
yes,
LaGuardia Airport, yeah. They can,
okay, so
yeah, they can Google it, yeah.
There was a documentary, a very well, it's a very old documentary now, but that was one of the things that kind of highlighted some of the aspects that I'm sure probably is in that same report. But it was a documentary called the Hemp Revolution.
Okay.
That spoke to the history of how cannabis was eventually made illegal, and gave some of the rationales as to why it was made illegal, and some of the propaganda that was spread in an effort to make it illegal. The fact that it was the Mexicans, and that's why I got the marijuana, marijuana, name came about, and so forth. And so that is a whole story within itself. I am really happy to hear that you would have taken the time out to do some research for yourself, because I know a lot of the times when it comes to the police, generally we get the negative aspects of cannabis from the police, and it was never something that is fully appreciated. And I guess we on St. Kitts and Nevis is experiencing that, where you would have had the police for all of these years fighting Rastafari, especially, and other members who use cannabis, because it's not just Rastafari who use cannabis, but you would have had that fight. Then you would have had Sankofa taking up the challenge to take the police commissioner to court. The police commissioner.
I have a call here.
Okay, yes, I'll remember my point. So let's take the call.
Okay, caller, good evening.
Good evening, Bankie. Good evening, Yahsonnn. And a special good evening to CG. It is good to see Mr. Walwin again and to hear his outspokenness.
Yes.
I want to take him back to his stint here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. One, the establishment of the Delta Force to help to fight crime on Nevis and St. Kitts.
Yes.
I want to find out from him what level of support did he got from Nevis in operating that Delta Force on the island of Nevis, because I know for a fact that our present premier was very, very harsh on him as the commissioner of police. Then I want to also ask him how he felt overall after the change of the Labour administration, being the commissioner of police and knowing that he was under the guns from the Team Unity administration. Did they play a role in him resigning from St. Kitts and Nevis because of the criticism he got and leaving the Federation? I mean, he was an asset to us, and we lost out big time after he resigned and left the Federation.
All right, thank you. That's it?
Well, I can answer.
Yes.
I can answer that question two ways. One, the Delta Squad, we never got involved in the politics, but people tried to tie us up and bring us in it. And that's something in my book that I'm just finishing up. I mentioned that. When I came to St. Kitts, I was working on my PhD, on my dissertation. And so I had to leave and go back to do my research in the States. And so the Prime Minister, Dr. Douglas, had asked me not leave because election was coming, and I had to miss going to do my research. And it cost me $10,000 out of my pocket for losing that. So I had to go and pay another $10,000 US to finish. So when the election came, I had no choice but to leave. It's not that they pushed me out. I chose to leave on my own. I received a call from my wife in America telling me that there was a message from Juicy Byron, who was the Attorney General, for me to come to Government House. I turned to Stafford Liebert. I said, why are they asking me to come to Government House? He said, because they're not going to let you go. I said, they can't stop me from leaving. I'm an American. I have an American passport. They can't stop me from going anywhere. So Sunday morning, I went down. Remember, the inauguration was Sunday afternoon. Sunday morning, I went down to Government House, and I met with Juicy Byron and the female from Guyana that, I forgot what her official title, but she's like a solicitor. And she was in the room with him, and he was asking me to stay. He said, I know that we said a lot of things on the platform, but it was an election and we had to say whatever we had to say to win the election. But nobody's going to make you leave. We want you to stay because we know if you leave, things are going to turn back around. So we want you to stay. Nobody's going to bother you. He says, talk to your wife, talk to your pastor, and see if they will encourage you to stay because we don't want you to go. Prior to that phone call, Timothy Harris called me on the phone and said, Commissioner, I just heard that you were leaving. You were leaving on Saturday, and I'm getting sworn in on Sunday, and it wouldn't look good to see my commissioner of police is not here. Pick another day. I said, well, sir, I already bought my ticket. He said, talk to Juicy. He will get you another ticket. So we had a meeting at NEMA that Thursday, and Juicy was there. And I told him what the prime minister said. He said, okay, we'll buy you a ticket. So Sunday night, after the inauguration, I had the Delta Squad take me to my house, pack my one bag because I had already, unbeknownst to anybody, shipped my stuff back to America that same week. So when they're looking for me to be moving with suitcases, I ain't had none. They're already gone when you weren't looking. So I go to the airport in like a backpack and my clothes, and I go to check in because I already bought my ticket, but I didn't show up Saturday. He says he's gonna buy me a ticket, and the lady told me there's no ticket. There's no ticket. So I sent someone I trusted to go back to the station because I'm calling Miss Phipps, the lady the first personal lady. She's in charge of the money, to find out what happened, but she was not responding to me. So the person went to the station, and when the person got to the station, they overheard a conversation in that office, not calling any names, but they overheard a conversation in that office saying, I don't know why he calling me because they told me to cancel his ticket and I ain't getting in trouble for nobody. And that's the voice that they heard behind that door. So when the person came back and told me that, the one thing I've always done strategically is make sure I'm never left out in the cold. I kept a credit card in my pocket for such a situation. I pulled it out and I spent $725 or $750 for a first class ticket. And I got on the plane and I went home to Orlando to my family. And that wasn't even all. One of the women who work at American Airlines, she happened to be on the plane. And I fell asleep with my mouth open on the plane. And she took a picture and posted on Facebook. That's the nastiness that they did, but nobody kicked me out. Now, the second question was with the Delta Squad. I came to St. Kitts. I knew what it would take to make a change. That wasn't my first time. I knew what it would take to make a change. And so I sat down with the gazetted officers and I told them I need to have 20 officers. I'm going to hybrid them with the military because I recognized when I came to St. Kitts or before I got there that the people trusted the soldiers more than they trusted the police. They had more faith in the soldiers than the cops. This thing is going to keep doing this. So anyway, I asked them for 20 officers. And of course, I was new and they figured they could push me around because I'm new. And one of them said, we don't have 20 men to give you. I reached into my bag. I pulled out the roster with 432 cops in St. Kitts and Nevis. I put it on the table. I said, this says I have 432 police officers. I'm going to play your game. You got a week to get me those men. And if you don't give them to me, I'll take them. And in a week, I had my men. I went to meet with the colonel, and we got some men, and I trained them myself. And we put them to use. 28% drop in crime the first month that they were there. Let me get this slide back on. I'm sorry about that. But we went and made sure that the people in St. Kitts and Nevis were safe. And the reason why we ended up in Nevis is because something happened on Low Street. And this old lady cried on the phone, called me and says, please send Delta. I reached out to Premier Perry at the time, and he provided a vehicle for Delta while they were there. He also provided food for them while they were there. So his government was very open to help reduce the crime in Nevis. On the other side, you can go to YouTube and you can see how I was treated, because the premier after him had some very disparaging comments about me. And they were on, they're still on YouTube. I saw them up to today. But I didn't come to fight with politicians. I came to reduce the murders in the Federation. And I did what I could do to get it done. And when I was not getting the support, I got it from the private sector. We created your 4 Seasons in Nevis, was one of the 7 employers in the Federation who came together after they heard me speak, and they told me point blank, if you believe in what you're saying, we will help you with what you need. And I can tell you, those 7 businesses, they poured a lot of money, a lot of money into the 29.45% drop in crime in the Federation. It went from 36 murders when we got there to 18, and it never rose against that. The job that I came to do in St. Kitts was done. We had stopped the bleeding, 50% reduction in the homicides, and I got up and I left and I came home. That was it.
Question, why you believe in community policing? Because I remember in Kodak Road, the police will come through in the daytime, in the evening time, and they have these floodlights on their vehicles shining out. I know you see these things in the movie where they have these older model cars and they have some round lights. I mean, these lights is brighter than the lights on the football field. Bright. They don't spot even now an ant. And they'll come through it was like community policing. Why did you introduce that? Their presence in the community.
Okay. The first thing that law enforcement has to realize is that they cannot do it without the community. I didn't get the crime reduced by me going out there. I got all the blame when stuff didn't go the way people expected. But I wasn't the one that was walking. It was the cops who were walking the beat. The neighbors were calling the police and giving tips. Mothers, it's in my book too, mothers calling to me, a child got a gun. I want you to come and get it. Or leaving 8 o'clock. And mothers were telling me, they know I look at them. The little boy, they're 14 and under, and them carrying the gun. These were mothers calling me and telling me this because they realized that it was better for me to arrest their son and put him in the jail than for them to put him in the morgue. 1 time, 2 times, I arrested somebody for weed. The first time was a little boy in Nevis. We got word that he was going to be assassinated, and I had no reason to lock him up. And he had some weed, a little dime bag, and I told the cops to lock him up. I locked him up to save his life, and his grandmother made a stink, and we let him go. And he ended up getting murdered. The next time there was a guy in Nevis. Everybody knew him. He got killed one Sunday. I got word from an eyewitness who heard a plot to kill him. And the person called me and told me that they just heard this plot to kill this dude. His father used to be on the radio talking to us. Father even cursed me on the radio. But again, I wasn't there because of his father. I was there to help reduce homicides in the Federation. I instructed the Nevis police, the Delta squad, to go look for him. And everybody smoked weed, lock him up for the weed, just to get him off the street. A week later, I get a phone call that he was dead. I said, he can't be dead. I have him locked up. They said, no, one of the inspectors in Nevis who don't like you, let him out. And that's how that boy got killed. Okay,
Wow.
community policing is the police being a part of the community. We are the community, and the community is us. Every police officer who works in St. Kitts and Nevis lives in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that's why you have to treat people right. In St. Thomas, which I know all politics is local, but in St. Thomas, we had 14 murders in 6 months. The officers, the police chief, I was in charge of the police chief. The police chief and the deputy chief, we sat down in December and we said, for the first 6 months of this year, we ain't gonna have no homicide in St. Thomas. We put all the things we put in St. Kitts, we put them to work in St. Thomas. And we had our first murder in May. We had our second murder in July. When you would have had 14 murders, you only had two in the same time because of what we were doing. We turned to the government then and asked them, do not change leadership. Give us 6 more months. We're going to reduce your murders. You had 29 last year. We're going to keep it down to 2. We're going to try. They went ahead and they made the change. And when they made the change, they had 14 homicides to run out the rest of the year. So
Wow.
community policing works. But it takes the police to understand that they can't do it by themselves and they have to treat the people in the community with respect because that's the only way they're going to get things done. And if they ain't doing that, you're going to have bodies dropping because nobody cares.
Yeah, so we're going to have to take a break and then give Mr. Dr. Walwin a chance to get a little sip of some water or something. And then we can come back in the discussion.
Yeah, definitely. We can
But
do
would you
that.
like to
Take a
continue,
break
Mr.
and hear from our sponsors on the rocks, Islander Water
Okay.
Sports, Imperial Rides, Shaba's Organics. And folks, if you want to sponsor the topics or any of the programs here on Real Entertainment Network, you can reach out to myself, Bankie, Ira, Alan, or any of the other members, Reese, any other member of the Real Entertainment Network. We definitely reach people all over the world, and so you get value for your money here on the platform. So we'll be taking a break and hearing from our sponsors, and then we'll be back for the second half of the program.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat. Come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag, only $10. Half a shopping bag, you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people. Good day, what's up? Good afternoon. Yeah. What's up?
I search one thing, to search the premises.
For what?
Control drugs, arms and ammunition.
We don't do arms and ammunition, no, but the control drug is.
And then we have a next one here to search your premises at Hamilton for the same.
No, you can't. For what? What are you looking for?
Same control drugs, arms and
What the control drug is?
Huh?
What the control drug is?
We there?
What is the control drug? Which is it?
Control drugs.
Which is what?
Yeah?
Which is what?
Any legal-
No. You have to explain to me. No. What is control drug?
Cannabis, ecstasy, cocaine.
Cannabis is not a control drug. Cannabis is a non-poisonous plant.
Cannabis is a control drug.
Cannabis is a non. Anyway.
Okay, that's for you to argue in court.
Okay.
So, do you have any illegal drugs on the premises?
No, but let you know everything that you're saying is everything you're doing is your card, eh? I just want to know everything that you're saying now is your card. Do you understand that?
Yes. So we're gonna.
So you understand this Sankofa case? You understand this Sankofa case? And you understand this Sankofa, you know. No. But listen to me. No. Listen to me. No. But you understand this Sankofa case? So you're infringing on my rights, right? Do you understand that?
No.
Do you understand you're infringing on my rights?
No, we're not infringing on your right. You listen to me?
You know, you understand.
Right? Arms and ammunition.
But we're not going to arms and ammunition.
If you believe.
Yes.
Right?
Not if I believe, I know.
If you believe cannabis is not
All this is, I'm saying all this is your card, eh?
Yeah.
And your name?
Officer Olivier.
And your name?
Shane.
No, Shane what? Shane what?
Shane.
And what the officer what the name is?
Robertson.
Robert what?
Robertson.
Okay, and you know also, I'm taking part in Agriculture Open Day with a cannabis expo. The director just called me, just come off the phone with him. Okay, so just let you know that, because there's a cannabis competition coming up also. I'm taking part in it. The CEO just is up here. So just learn all these things, because so when we look for your business, I'm within my rights. I'm just letting you know, because tonight again I must show, and all this video going to show tonight also. So I'm just letting you all know that. So let me go. So let me see the warrant. What do you want to say?
So you control drugs, arms, and
again. We don't want to control drugs.
Arms.
So state the drug that you're looking for.
Control drugs.
I don't know this control drugs. So me not consent. No. So me not accept the country where the drug is, because I'm not going to with you. No, me don't know it is legal, because the government moving into a medical cannabis society. I have the right to have trees as a Rastafarian. So this is my document.
License to plant trees?
I have the right to have trees. The government have not been a license now, so you can't come to a license. You can't do a license because there's nothing. The authority. I have not. Listen.
And that's just a piece of what would have inspired Officer CG Walwyn to have written that track we would have heard about earlier. Actually, there are 3 tracks that he would have produced that I know of. I don't know if there's more, but I know of 3 specifically. The one that is that we played earlier on in terms of Bankie the Farmer. There's another one that talk about the drum and the bass. That's the one that we started the program with. And then there's another one that is called Political
Sacrament
Hitchhiker.
and the Law.
Sacrament and the Law, and then there's the Political Hitchhiker. Those are 3 tracks. And so now this is a little bit interesting as we get into this segment, because people know you as a cop, and a top cop, and a very serious top cop. And I knew that this would have blew away my colleagues, because when you told me that, I was like, really? You know what I mean? Like, I am here, I'm seeing some of the comments here on the platform. Somebody saying, "Bye, Bankie, is only you could make a police commissioner write a song about cannabis for you." And I mean, so this is the kind of effect.
I still don't believe this.
Man.
I mean, I was just trying to wonder, can I keep asking who wrote this song? I appreciate it. I figure maybe somebody around here, I just don't know what to think. I just want to know who do it, so I can let them know I appreciate it, and I'm giving you all the accolades to the world internationally, because I'm still, it's like, I'm blushing because I would not expect.
Have they heard the
chief of police? I heard all of them.
Well, the DJ, the technician, if you're listening, Maybe you could just give us a little snippet of the one that we started with. That's the Sacramento Miller.
Coming to a musician, coming to a big artist.
Yeah, man. We got to feature the artist. We ain't just have a police commission here. We have an artist here tonight. So we have to feature the artist. So technician, if you're listening, you could just start bringing it in. When I hear you start playing it, then I'll just keep quiet. Because we don't want anything here.
The laws are changing slow. Island by island, they're letting the old ways go. Decriminalization, 2 ounces in your hand. From Kingston to St. Kitts, across the sand. They're building industries, the medicine is gold. The colonial prohibition is finally growing old. But down in Dominica, the plan still brings the cuffs. And justice moves in rhythms that are never fast enough. But what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before there was a fee to pay? They're catching charges still today, while businessmen get rich. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's the paradox they pitch. Drum and debate, drum and debate. They built this on our suffering, now they wanna erase. Drum and debate, drum and debate. The same plant that fed our soul now locked behind a gate. Hey, Jamaica led the way back in 2015. 5 plants per household, the first to make it clean. St. Vincent opened up the medicinal trade, but the application fees too heavy to be paid. Trinidad says 30 grams, but 4 plants is a crime. 10 years behind the prison wall, still doing time. And in Antigua, 15 grams, the limit's drawn so low. The Rastafari cultivator still got nowhere left to go. But what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before there was a fee to pay? They're catching charges still today, while businessmen get rich. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's the paradox they pitch. Drum and debate, drum and debate. They built this on our suffering, now they wanna erase. Yeah, drum and debate, drum and debate. The same plant that fed our soul.
Hey, I'm telling you, people. I see people asking who wrote this song. People, the song was written by the man himself here. We got a caller on the line, so we'll take the caller.
Yes, caller, good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Brother Bankie. Good evening, Brother Yahsonnn.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
And good evening, Commish.
Yes.
Good evening.
First of all, I got tip about the program tonight. Short order. And the songs, I heard these songs, but I thought was like artists from Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
But as I listen now, the tempo has been drawn. But man, your voice sound like Bob Marley, you know?
No. I'm not singing. I wrote them.
He's not singing. He wrote this song, but he's not singing.
I wrote and arranged it. I wrote them and I arranged them, but that wasn't my voice.
Yes, he did the arrangement and the writing of the music, of the lyrics. Yes.
Well put together.
Of course, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward.
Yes, go ahead.
I never heard of you until tonight.
Hello? Caller?
He sounded like he said he never heard of
No,
me.
raise your voice. Raise your voice.
I'm saying it aloud.
No, go ahead.
If you are hearing me.
No, I can hear you now. Repeat yourself. You're saying you never heard of... Go ahead.
I never heard of you, Mr. Walwyn,
Mm-hmm.
of being a condition officer in 1990. I wasn't there to those administration, so obviously it's after I had left. But
I came in 2011.
The way you was conducting yourself with the Delta, of course, that sentence has lost. Too much criminal activity is too normal and frequent in the Federation. And we heard of all these murders. Up to about a month ago, we had the last murder. I don't know if anything gonna be advanced moving forward. But I think it was a loss to St. experience, St. Nevis. And I think some will travel that vein to come back. I assume you are a U.S. citizen, and that's why I have no barrier to a person who carried passport.
Carlo?
Is he asking me if I'm going to come back?
Yeah, I guess he asked me.
Like he was asking me if I would come back.
Yeah, you keep dropping, Carla. Your reception is very poor.
I am an independent candidate for the next upcoming election. And I look at this oration you're making as an interview. In my administration, should I get a chance to people? So, would you come back if being asked for such a task? Because I think you can do the job again. So, would you come back to contribution?
Are you the young man from New York?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've heard him before. To answer your question, I'm a chief of police right now.
Yes, Carla, you can listen off here when I respond to your question.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your call.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Walwyn.
Okay. I am a chief of police right now in Texas. And I gave notice that I was going home. I was trying to help a young lady to get her job back. She's 25 years old. She's 20 years old, and she said her supervisor was touching her when he was talking. And she got upset and she quit the police force. She's asked me to try to help her back. I've asked the Prime Minister, I've asked the Minister of National Security, I've asked the Commissioner just to go ahead and listen to this young lady and give her job back. But when I was helping her, she was telling me thanks. And I said to her, you're 25 years old. She has a college degree now. I said, you're 25 years old. In 20 years, you're going to be 45 years old, and I'm going to be, and I said, damn, I'm going to be 8, 9 years old. So I turned around on my computer and I told personnel, I said, I'm leaving. I'm going home. And so they haven't found a replacement for me yet. They have asked me to stay on until they can get a replacement so I can train him. I'm a consultant.
Okay, hold on.
I charged.
Okay. Hold your point, Mr. Walwyn. Have a caller here.
Okay.
Caller?
Yes, I want to say good evening to Yahsonnn, Bankie, and especially my friend C.G. Walwyn. I just want to let most of the people know I was one of your secret weapons, and I'm proud to be a part of what we are doing and the arrangement and everything you do with the song, especially that the one they played tonight. Man, that was maximum power. And big up to you and everything you do. I just want to say thank you for everything. And like I said, you're one of my major role model, and thank you for everything you're doing and what you're about to do in the future, which is relax, because it can be me and your wife better picture up if you do what you say you're going to do. I'm standing
and he will. And he will. He was also instrumental in helping me to decide. He was also instrumental in helping me decide which song we were going to release for Bankie, because we had 3 of them. And the one I liked is the one that we decided on. But I was saying, I don't mind. I'm leaving law enforcement here in Texas. I'm a consultant. I have a PhD in public safety. My specialty is police leadership. I charge $300.
Busy, you know. You have this lane busy.
I charge $300 an hour for consultation. I'll be free to consult. That's US. I will be free to consult for anybody who needs me. I've stopped working for free.
Okay, caller. Good evening. Hello.
To you, Bankie. Yeah. Good evening, Bankie.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, loud and clear, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good evening to you and to Yahsonnn and the guest, Dr. Walwyn.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
I know everybody's asking questions and commenting locally, right? So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go different than everybody and bring him back to the United States. I'm outside looking back into St. Kitts, right? So this is going straight to the guests. We see what's going on in the United States, right? In terms of trying to assert themselves back into the Caribbean region. And in a way, it seems like America ought to make an effort to maybe clean up the area in terms of corruption, corrupted leaders, and such. So Mr. Walwyn being in law enforcement and he's situated in the United States currently, what he wants to say to the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis or to the politicians there in St. Kitts and Nevis as well on the ground. And what can he say about what he's seeing for the future of the region and for St. Kitts and Nevis of the Federation, the Caribbean as a region, in relationship to law enforcement activity coming out of the United States. And lastly, I've seen a clip where I think that says the first batch of deportees have landed on St. Kitts. I don't know if that's correct. I haven't clarified that yet. If he wants to say anything about the deportees that's going to be coming from the third country deportees that's going to be coming down to St. Kitts Nevis or the region, what can he say about that, transfer of deportees in terms of law enforcement? Or is he concerned that they might pose a national threat to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and in terms of their what charges they face in terms of why they're getting deported? And I'll leave it there. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it. Thank you, hello.
All right. Well, first things first. St. Kitts is a sovereign nation, so the rest of the Caribbean. And nobody can tell them what to do if they don't want to do it. So if we are accepting people into our federation, it's because something was done that meant something to us or to the region. As far as deportees are being deported not for criminal acts, but for civil acts. Overstaying is not a criminal act. It's a civil issue. You were given a certain time to stay in the land. You chose to violate it, so they come in and take you, sending you back home. We do the same thing in St. Kitts. We deport people all the time from St. Kitts, so it's no different. Every border has the right to protect its shores, and we are no different. As far as crime, we've had more criminals coming into St. Kitts when I was there who were deported. A lot of sex offenders. We saw during my time the rise in sex crimes in St. Kitts because a lot of sex offenders were coming home, and there was no legislation in St. Kitts and Nevis that made them register when they came home. The rule was that if you didn't commit a crime in St. Kitts, then they couldn't do you anything. And so we saw over there in Sandy Point and Old Road, we saw a lot of people getting raped. But you can't do anything about it because you have no DNA. And so I brought in the U.S. Department of Justice with some rape kits and trained the people at the hospital on how to collect, they call it SONA, sexual assault testing. And I've heard that since I left, they stopped doing it. So for you to be able to control the crime, you have to put measures in place. And before I go, I want to say this. For a crime to happen, to occur, you have to have a triangle. The triangle has desire, opportunity, and ability. If you have those three things, a crime will occur. If you remove one of those, the crime will not occur. Now, you can also harden a target. And if a person is determined to commit the crime, they're going to try everything they can. But if you take away one of these, so if I have a desire to break into your house, but you put burglar bars on your house, I won't have the opportunity to get into your house, even though I have the ability to break into your house. So I have to remove one of these. If the St. Kitts police would look around their community and see where their vulnerabilities are and address those vulnerabilities, we will see a reduction in crime. As far as people being sent from other places to St. Kitts, that is something I cannot address because I'm not a local politician. I'm not the government. That is something that your local government will have to address. And you vote. You have the right to vote. I have the right to vote here. I vote in every election, even the local ones, because if I don't like something, I will vote that person out. So that's why it's important for you, whether you're in St. Kitts or whether you're here in the States, to get involved locally with the elections so you can continue to help make a difference.
Mr. Walwin, what do you have to say to young people when it comes to keeping their head on and being positive and stay out of negative environment? As you said, you had, as a young person, your teacher asked you, well, where you from? Over and over. So what message for anyone who was in your environment at an early age would you give to them?
What I would tell them is that no matter what your present situation is, things can change. I remember one time I was on top of the Bastia police station on the roof. I was speaking. A mother had brought her son to me to talk to her son because he was starting to go the way of the gang. As I was talking to this young man, 3 little boys came down the street. And one of them says, Commissioner Walwyn, we want you to talk to us. We don't want to go to jail. My brother over in the prison right now. And so I sent my driver downstairs to bring them up. And we had that conversation. Shortly after, some of those boys got in trouble for going over to one of the foreign ambassador's house and stole some mangoes. And he came to me and he said, I don't want to press any charges against these kids. And so I sent the message over to my next in command. And somebody in the police station did not listen to what I said. And these cases went down to be prosecuted. And the man called me from the court and says, Commissioner, I told you I didn't want to press any charges. Why are we trying to get these young men messed up? And that's the message. Sometimes you may do something that gets you in trouble. But because you got in trouble don't mean you have to stay in trouble. Find an alternative before you get to that stage. But if you get to that stage, find a way out. And sometimes everybody who's looking at you and smiling with you is not your friend. If they're encouraging you to do bad stuff, you need to walk away and become independent and do what you know is right. And finally, I'll answer the question like this. In the Bible, there's a story about Moses where he killed an Egyptian and he hid his body in the sand. He killed him because he thought it was the right thing to do because the Egyptian was beating one of his people. The problem is somebody saw what he did because the Bible says he looked this way and he looked that way. And when he thought nobody was watching, He killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So people are watching, whether you're doing good or whether you're doing bad. As a young person, always strive to do the right thing. Don't let nobody make you do nothing. I could have been selling drugs in St. Croix. I can tell you when I was living in St. Thomas for the summer, my cousin, he's dead now. He used to grow weed on top. He used to grow weed on top of the roof. And y'all know back then, weed or what the young man said it was.
Cannabis,
What did he say it
cannabis
was
or
called?
herb. Cannabis
Okay.
or herb.
All right. So he was growing cannabis on top of the roof. All right. All of us could have went to jail because back then that was like a life sentence. My point is this again to the young people. I brought 2 programs into St. Kitts to help you. One is called Magic, mentoring, advising, guiding, and instructing children. $40,000 a year per school. That's US dollars. I got it free from the Orange County Sheriff Office. They sent the instructors here, there, to St. Kitts and Nevis to train police officers to bring this program to the schools. I also went to Houston. I got another program called TAPS, Teens and Police Service. Brought that for the high schools in St. Kitts. So we put programs in place when I was there to help steer you away from being in the bad company. But we also learned from the gangs during my conversations is that if we don't reach these young people while they're in elementary school, when they get to high school, it's too late. They belong to the gangs. And that's what the gangs told me. And that's why we put the stuff in the elementary school to help reduce juvenile delinquency. And the programs work because the juvenile delinquency in St. Kitts during my time went down to almost 0. So that was a very good question.
Yes, so let me take this call. Thank you, Dr. Walwyn. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, let me get back in for a quick second.
Yeah, you're in, caller. Go ahead.
Right? Yeah, straight back to the guest. I just wanted to ask him, right? The factors that he was explaining just now, why crime would happen, right? Is that why they would have an accomplice or an insider? And then I would just say he gave some sound advice to the electorates. If you don't like who's in, you replace them. And lastly, I just want to say to him, keep up his good works. And, I hope when he goes into retirement, he enjoys retirement. And I don't know if he can give on that. And I'll leave it there for the night, man.
All right, thank you. Thank you, caller. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay. What he's talking about is the insider threat. A lot of times, like for instance, in Orlando, we noticed that it was winter, and we noticed that around a certain time in the morning, the stores at the malls were getting broken into. And we couldn't figure out how it was happening until it started, you got mist, frost, the temperature dropped, and the frost got on the glass. And what was happening is the insiders were the janitors. They had this private janitor company cleaning those office spaces. And they were using soap on a sponge, and they would mark an arrow on the glass. So when the guys come, they would look for the arrow. We couldn't see it because it's soapy water. But what happened that night, it frosted. And when it frosted, the ice wouldn't attach to the soap. So we could see very plainly arrow pointing to where the burglary was supposed to happen. So you do have that. It's called the insider threat. Somebody inside causing that to happen.
Yes, son.
Man,
you want to get in some of the messages? Can you have a lot of comments before you start again?
Yeah, I can do that. So let's go back up here. We have Jebret Food said, me too. Okay, sorry. So Oliver says, I'm loving this, bro. Jebret Food says, that's Bankie King. Wow. Jebret Food says, even police know that was not fear. Ha 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 ha. Karma. Bedfood says, me love this. Valentino Maverick says, name of the song. I think that one is System, Sacrament and the System, or System and Sacrament.
The Sacrament and the Law. And that's why I wrote that article, the article that you're referring to. I wrote that, and then I wrote the song based on that. And I haven't published it yet, the article, because I don't know whether to go with the New York Times or to go with a local paper. But that needs to be published in the Caribbean, because a lot of islands need to see what they're doing to their people and make the change, make the difference.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, by the way, that song is on Apple. It's on YouTube. I get paid $1 every time somebody downloads it.
That's the Sacrament and the Law?
Sacrament and the Law, yeah. I get paid $1 every time somebody. Yeah, I went ahead and paid them $200 to put it across social media, and every time somebody downloads it, I get $1. I get 99 cents.
So you know.
So we got to encourage
Bankie
people
to support all of them, because people loving the songs.
I didn't put up Bankie, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Yes, put up all of them.
It's gonna get some forward from this show, you know, based on the fact that he was listening to
no
you.
problem.
All right. Let's go to some of the comments. Destin Sargent says, I would have never guessed that CG was the one who wrote that song. Nice.
Yes.
Mighty Servant says, I am happy that Dr. CG Walwin had the Damascus experience, because whilst he wore the khaki, that only in recent history black men could have worn, him and his Delta Squad oppressed Rastafari in SKN. Well, Dr. Walwin, Burby Jones says, well, Dr. Walwin writing songs when he retires caused lots of issues to write about in the Federation. Very spontaneous of him to write that song for Bankie in his time of need. Burby Jones says, well, is a real St. Kitts Nevis man write this song? Hear what the words say? It's a Nevis tradition. Ellie 2 says, greetings all. Mighty Servant says, imagine the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, the Assistant Commissioner all gave CG assurance, but someone gave him hearsay and he acted on it. Mighty Servant says, Dr. Walwin was largely responsible for militarizing the police force in SKN, and I guess that you could allude to based on the fact that you said that you could allow.
Yes.
You could agree with that, yes? Because you said that you were the one
did that for a reason. We did that for a reason, because the people had no respect for the police. But the one thing that Delta was told when they started, we do not abuse anybody's rights, is Delta. If he can show me one place where Delta abuse anybody, then that'll be good. I know of only one instance where a man ended up in the hospital because he was fighting with a Delta guy, and he bit the Delta guy's arm. And what was so ironic is I was on the phone with a woman who was watching him fight police, and she kept saying, "Boy, behave yourself. Boy, behave yourself." And he ended up at the hospital because he tore the policeman's shirt off, and he cracked the policeman's finger by biting it. So that's the one time. But Delta was not a people beater. If they did, it didn't come to me. And if it did, they wouldn't be on Delta. The militarization.
Yeah, as that point is brought up, there is always that debate because from what I understand in terms of law enforcement and so on, and I guess that's part of why it may seem a particular way. But I understand your rationale for it. But technically, the police is trained totally different to how the military and the army personnel are trained, whereas police is trained more to serve and protect and to be, do civil work, so to speak, whereas the military is more shoot and ask questions after kind of concept that they have. So how do you skillfully manage being able to fuse both and have both work in such a format? I guess it might be a diplomatic response, but as brief as you can put it. looking at both issues. The fact that police are trained differently to how the military is trained, but then putting them in the capacity to function as police and expecting them to function as police, how challenging, difficult that was, is, would be.
Okay. Well, first we need to realize that we are looking at things from the lens of a person in St. Kitts and Nevis. Militaries around the world have police units within them, and they do police on their compounds. Like at the bases, you have military police, you don't have civilian police. In St. Kitts, we train those guys. They were all taught not to violate anybody's rights. Like I said, if he has anything that shows where Delta did something to somebody, then it was not brought to my attention because I would not have accepted that. But we had to. We were not dealing with Boy Scouts. Some of these guys had guns that were better than the police. I had to change, and this is in my book again that's coming out. I had to change the weapons that the police in St. Kitts were carrying. These police were using guns that were borrowed from Barbados. St. Kitts police didn't have any guns. New York police donated their old guns to the RSS, and St. Kitts borrowed guns from the RSS so the officers could have guns. I went to Dr. Douglas. I says, this can't work. And along with Jared Bell, we got together and I bought weapons for every police officer in St. Kitts. I changed the caliber of the bullet. The 9mm bullet travels too fast and it'll go and come out. And so we got the 40 caliber. It has the speed of a 9 and it has a knockdown of a 45. And so we changed the weapons for that purpose. We also, when we're clearing houses, the M16, so we had to change to the M4s. The M4s, because they were shorter. And so the militarization, as he says, he was a militarization of police, but we're fighting a war. I think it's with guys that didn't care if they died. These guys had nothing to live for. I sat down with these gang members in my office, and one of them told me something that was really chilling. He said that sometimes when they go out and they kill people, it wasn't because of a beef. They had gotten to the point that they had a gun and they would ask, hey man, how many souls you got? 5. He said, well, I gotta go catch you. And he go out and kill somebody just because he could do it. And this is the mindset that we were trying to change. That's the reason, again, why we put the Magic and Taps program in the schools. We even helped with the juvenile reform. They raised the age of consent in St. Kitts to 16 from 12. So you wouldn't be putting juveniles.
You're breaking up, Dr. Walwyn. It's
yeah, we're not hearing
when
you.
you come back on, Yahsonnn, I want you to go back.
Can y'all hear me?
So you were sitting with the. Yes, I want you to start back over because you were breaking up. I want the people to hear you clearly when you were sitting with the gang members and exactly what they told you when they said it make you want chill. So you're something like that. Explain exactly what the gentleman said to you.
Okay, so I invited 3 leaders of the gangs to my office, and I put that in my book today. And we were eating, and one of them told me something that ran chills through me, because what he said was, sometimes when they go out and they kill each other, it is not for a beef. Not that they got something against nobody. Is that they're sitting around and one of them say, hey, how much souls you got? They call everybody they kill, they call it a soul. So how many souls you got? So he said, this guy, I got 5. So this guy says, I only got 4. I got to beat you. And they go out and they have a murder that night just to keep up. They can beat the other person. And that's what was happening when I was there. We had to get these guys off the street. And I want to thank the parents, a lot of the mothers who would call me and give me tips on how to get their child off the street because, like I said before, they would rather see their son in the jail than to have him under the ground. We had a shooting one time in Prickle Alley in that area. Guy got shot. And a few days later, we had another guy show up at the hospital with a gunshot. So when we got there, we didn't realize the guy that got shot and the guy that did the shooting were in the same room in side by side. So the guy that got shot, he told us, hey, that's the guy that shot me. So what I did was, I remember working in Houston. I worked with the sheriff office, and at one point, when I was studying theology, I have a degree in theology also, I was assigned to the hospital. And in the hospital, we had a room within a room. Because in St. Kitts, the hospital is so open, I could stay outside and put my hand in the window and kill somebody in the bed. And so when we had people like the one that was sitting there, we went ahead and we changed. We built a room within a room in the hospital so that when we had people who were shot like this guy, we would put them there, open one door, and then you had to go through another to get to the person. But when you opened the first, there was a cop making sure that that person was okay. Plus, there was a camera outside with a monitor inside so we could see who's outside that door. And again, you militarized, but you did that because you were saving lives. I mean, you know, 50% of the homicides reduced over 3 years period, 50% in the first year alone. 18 young men were not murdered in that first year that we militarized the police. 18 young men stayed alive, and 18 did not die for each of the years that I was there. So I don't apologize for militarizing, as he says. It was a necessity at the time.
All right. And that just came as a result of some of the comments that we were reading. I'm going to go through some of the comments because we are, about wrapping up that 2-hour section.
Yes.
It's time flies when you're having fun, as they would say. And the conversation is really, really informative. I can see by the folks who are logged on, nobody has moved. And I want to take this time before I read these final comments to encourage all who are logged on to go over to the YouTube platform, look for Real Entertainment Network, subscribe to the platform, click on the notification bell, like the YouTube platform, and share it. I think there's a caller coming in, so we would probably take the call and then go to the comments.
Caller, hold on. Caller, can you go ahead?
Yes. Yeah. Recently, I assume that you are aware of the most recent murder in St. Kitts. It's a foreign national that got killed. And I uttered something Ireland TV yesterday. Now, there's a particular name has been called as involved or witness, so to speak. But obviously, that person has fled St. Kitts to the St. Thomas. Now, I don't know how far that investigation is right now. But in a situation, this guy is an American born, so to speak. What could be done, I'm asking to the police commissioner, should there be that name need to be questioned, knowing that that person has fled the Federation? Is there any advice you could give that might give some comfort to the victims' parents, so to speak, and the rest of the Federation, so to speak? Someone has fled. That is a potential candidate of involvement. I will leave it right there. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, caller.
First, let me say this. I'm a police chief. I have a 10,000 square mile jurisdiction. So I understand that people will run, but people can't hide. The simple fact that he said the person went to the Virgin Islands, there had to be a way that he got there. So there's a tracking and in this already. If there is enough information that that justifies a warrant, then there are procedures that we must go through to get that warrant executed. Just because you run don't mean that you can hide. I was concerned that he was going to tell me that it was a national from CARICOM. And the reason why it would bother me is because, and I don't know if they have changed that lately, but while I was there in 2014, I tried. I was a chairman of CARICOM at the time, of CARICOM police and military at the time. And I tried to get a CARICOM warrant created so that if a person from Jamaica came to St. Kitts and killed somebody, and they got on the plane and went back to Jamaica, that with the CARICOM warrant, that person could be extradited. Up until then, and as like I said, I don't know if it's changed, but up until then, if that person made it to Jamaica, we could not bring him back because we didn't have the authority to bring him back on the CARICOM. And it happened in Nevis while I was there. A medical student had got stabbed up by a guy from Jamaica, and we intercepted him at the airport in St. Kitts with the bloody clothes, about to catch the plane. And so, because this person, he said, is an American, we have, and this is the weirdest thing, we have extradition agreements with ABC, America, Britain, and Canada. But we didn't have any with each other in the Caribbean. So we had a guy from another island comes into St. Kitts to commit a murder and then go back. And we couldn't bring him back because we had no legal way to do it. I was told in the old days they would take him on a boat out into international waters and exchange him with the government that was looking for him. But I don't play those games, so I never did that.
Yes, son.
Quite interesting. Yeah, well, I'll just read a few more comments, and then there are a number of other things that we could discuss, and I'm hopeful that you would be able to make some time for us for maybe a part 2, if you find it's the time. But invited gang members who then confess to murder, I don't swallow that. That's what somebody's saying. He said this man. Okay, so somebody did. No, well, people would not want to believe these things. So, I mean, still, I just read it because they said it. Desmond Sargent says the police using borrowed guns. How ludicrous is this? I didn't even know that was a thing. No budget for guns? What is Dr. Walwyn's timetable for retirement? Can he say, or he wants to keep it silent? Well, he did say
my birthday is August 28th. Tell him my birthday is August 28th. And okay, so I plan to retire then. But my wife runs a private investigation company in Houston. So I'll be between both states. If they want to go to my website, it's IAHOTX, and they'll see me up there. They'll see what I'm going to be doing.
Okay, and I think at this point, I will give you an opportunity to share any information that you want to. Well, you did say that how they could find your music, at least that song.
No, they can find it on. They can find it on Spotify, Apple. Yes, anything on even YouTube. They can find it
on YouTube. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In terms of your book as well, you can give them some hints and or ideas of when the book is going to be launched and where they probably might be able to find it as well. and anything in your clothes,
Amazon.
any words of
Okay.
encouragement for um, the folks on St. Kitts and Nevis, especially seeing that that's where you're from. You have some roots in the Virgin Islands as well, and you know, policing on a whole generally. Also, in relation to the cannabis issue here on St. Kitts and Nevis, what words of encouragement you would have for the present Commissioner of Police, the Assistant Commissioner in Nevis, where some of these things are happening? Because one of the things that we are seeing as well is that some things that are not happening on St. Kitts are happening on Nevis, and we should have one police commissioner, but seemingly different actions are taking place. So anything that you could say in relation to that as well in your closing?
Well, with the again, I'm a chief of police, and so I don't get into other police commissioners' business. I would say, as rule of fairness, if you're going to do one thing in one jurisdiction, do it in the other one. I still believe, as a citizen and even as a police chief, that we should not be arresting people for having weed in their possession, with cannabis in their possession. I think that we have gone way past that. Now, if you're just selling pounds, then you got a problem. But if you talk about a man that's, because of his religion, because of his faith, he has 4 ounces of weed on him for his personal use, I don't think that he should be arrested. And that's just me. Okay, I can't make the law. I don't want to change the law. I'm just telling you from me what it is. As a police officer, I would not arrest anybody that had less than 4 ounces of weed. That's just me. All right? As far as the book is still being made. It will be on Amazon first. It's going to have a lot of details in it. A lot of stuff are going to come out. A lot of stuff I didn't say here, but it's going to be in the book. People are going to be surprised by what I say. But everything I said in there, I cannot get sued because it's the truth. So that's about it. As far as giving encouragement to the young people, if you're not a member of, if you haven't been taking the classes that the police are giving or supposed to be giving on TAPS or on Magic, you need to get involved. If you're a parent, try to get your primary school children involved in the Magic and the TAPS program or the Explorers program. I'm an Explorer graduate. I will join the Explorers when I was 16 in St. Croix, and I've been to Moscow, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to Bali, Indonesia, I've been almost everywhere, Mexico. One of the police stations you have in St. Kitts right now, I will not say which one, but it came because the Mexican government had given money before to build the Tabernacle station, the Deerby station. And when they came to Tabernacle and they saw what we had done with the monies that they gave us to build the Tabernacle station, they gave us $11 million to build another police station. And I don't know, and I went to Mexico for this. I don't know if that money was used because I didn't follow up with the police in St. Kitts, but that money was earmarked from Mexico to build another police station. It's a whole lot of things that happened that a lot of folks don't know about. For instance, if you're over there in the police barracks, the police academy over there in Newtown, in Ponce Pasture, you see a building that's sitting there. Vic DeZen gave us that building because Anguilla was asking St. Kitts police to train their officers, and we had no space for women. Denzel Douglas and a young lady named Rosemary Isles talked to me about going to Marriott, and Prime Minister Douglas introduced me to Vic DeZen, and that's how we got that building. But when we built the building, I was gone, and the people who were in charge when I left, they took that building and made it their personal place instead of using it for what it was intended. So it's a lot of things in St. Kitts that needs to change. A lot should have been changed, but I'm not there, and I'm here, and I don't get involved with things that I have no control over. But St. Kitts is my home. I love it, and I love the people of the Federation.
You know, there was something that you said. It just got back to my memory when I think it's in the book when you came to St. Kitts, and there were some things that were happening in your police force that you had to address, where you had to actually move a police officer, and then there was a time where there was a crackdown on some drug situation, and when you started to do the investigation, it led to some top political members, and you were unable to touch these people to some extent because of the fact that you had this internal politics and so on that was going on in the police force, and you have to be strategic in your way of dealing with and addressing this. I think before we close off this evening, like I said, I know I'm going to ask you to try to come back. I know you're a busy guy. I don't know if you'd oblige, but at least before you leave, maybe you could respond to that little bit so that people could get a little idea to some extent, because some of these things may never come out, and it would take someone like you who would have been there to really expound on some of these things. And like you did, because you didn't mention any names, so to speak, in the book, but you can probably relate to the scenario a little bit before we close off.
Well, there was a situation. It didn't happen with me. It happened before me, where drugs had entered the country, and the police were told to step down. That's the bottom line, because of who the drugs belong to. And it was a person in government. Then I had a situation at the Bastille police station where a gang member looked me up and gave me some information about a high command police officer who was calling them ahead of the drug raids so they could get the drugs and the guns hidden. And then we had another situation at the Bastille police station. If you ever go there, look at the evidence room. We had money and drugs stolen out of the evidence room while I was there. And when we investigated, we found that people up the stairs, I believe they call the room 240, they had dug a hole in the floor, which is the floor for that, which is the roof, well, the floor for that room, but it's the ceiling for the evidence room below. And they were climbing down inside and taking stuff out. And we were able to put a stop to that, rebuild the place, and made it safe. So I don't know what the changes are now, but we had some internal things with police officers. A lot of stuff that I can't say, but we had some issues with the police at the time, and we made a lot of changes. And that's one of the reasons why I was not liked by some people, because I don't believe in dirty cops. If you're a dirty cop, you can't work for me. And I will do everything I can to get rid of you. And that's what we did.
Man, I am grateful that you would have taken the opportunity to be here with us this Tuesday evening and share your information. It's quite informative. It's quite refreshing to hear, from the news. It's really, really and truly an honor to have gotten the opportunity to have this 2 hours plus with you, and I am hoping to invite you back at some point if you would oblige, and we could probably have a follow-up. Maybe it could be after the book is launched, or maybe at some other point.
Okay.
But Bankie, because I really didn't get into a lot of the questions that I had for you personally as well, and I'm sure Bankie would have had others as well. But we wanted as much as possible.
It was just never enough time. It was just never enough time when you have someone getting the callers and stuff like that. But it was more than enough. You know what I mean?
Right. We allow the callers. We tried as much as possible to accommodate the callers and the persons who made their comments as well. Because without them, we would not necessarily have a program. We might just be here talking to ourselves. And so we want to thank you very much, CG Walwin. And congratulate you for all of your years of service, and you still continue to do the work. And even though you left, you would have done and still continue to do things in terms of supporting the St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force, whether it is sending proof or, whatever other things that you do for the force. And we want to thank you very much from this rostrum. And in terms of the cannabis issue, we will have a little bit more discussion on that the next time we come back, because we didn't even get into delving into some of the issues that's taking place here and get your perspective from a legal standpoint, other recommendations that you probably might have. So Bankie, I'm going to give you an opportunity for your closing as well, and then we're going to give Mr. Walwyn a chance to make his closing as well. So, yeah, you want to say something, Mr. Walwyn?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the document that I wrote, the sacrament and about the sacrament, you can post it on your page so people can get a copy of it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Well,
Bankie?
Yahsonnn, let me say, well, it's an honor being in the presence of Dr. Walwyn. I mean, I never know he's the one who wrote those songs. I mean, it's an honor that I didn't know what they talk about me. I got so many songs with my name in there now. I mean, it's like, I don't know how to take it, but it's an honor whenever change can be made and people can be inspired out of situation, and especially from a top cop. Very important, because this is very rare that you'll find someone seeing a situation and get inspired of something that most people see as being negative and something positive. That's why you see, I see it all the time and say, the universe don't make mistake. Because now you see we're here interviewing Mr. Walwyn. And
plus,
I just want to say
right. So
yes, but it
that
goes beyond Rasta. Yes, of course,
no,
but then it goes beyond that
because
because so many people are being affected in this way. But it just take something special in a sense. Can you have to be inspired? Can you didn't have to? It's just something have to connect. As you see, I was polite, my approach and everything, and stuff like that. So, but I just want to say, his country, the evidence is there to show. Statistic is what works, because that's how the government system works after statistic. Whether it's agriculture, whether it is in the veterinary area, whatever it is through the civil service, evidence is what shows. And his work that he have done throughout the community, you hear me testify and say what I see with my own eyes in Kodak Road, how the police used to come through and all the different stuff, and the drop in crime and all. There was a big change. You could have seen it. It was evident. People was fearful. Less business was going on. The place shut down at night time earlier. We all know that. We live here. We feel it. You see what I mean? And that is why you see it's important. Why overseas and living here is totally two different things. He was underground. So he became, and he is one of us. And that's what made it special. And he is genuine and want the best. So he must be commended. Okay? In life, you just need enough people to support you. And he had enough people to support him. And there's still enough people in the community still support, and you can see right here the love that he's getting. People appreciate what you have done. And I, for one, definitely can't wait to get an autograph book when your book is released, because I'm here in my life and I love to collect books, I love to read, and very important. So thank you again for taking the invitation. Definitely looking forward for having the next discussion with you. And the people definitely looking forward for having you back. So, folks, thanks again for choosing Real Entertainment Network. Thanks for your comments and your calls and all that that you have been sharing and stuff like that. A very beautiful show, and I really enjoy having the discussion with you. You wanted to say something, Mr. Walwyn? You about to say something again?
I just want to say thank y'all for bringing me on, and thanks to the people who are listening for the kind words, and thank y'all for the differences in opinions. That's what makes us work.
Yes.
I don't hold nothing against anybody. I respect dialogue. I encourage dialogue.
Yes.
So thank y'all for your contribution. Y'all have a nice night.
Beautiful.
And thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be on the platform.
I'm gonna play the song again before we close off. The farmer song. They're gonna play. They're gonna take us out. The closing.
I truly appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you. And based on what I'm seeing here on the platform, the numbers are still here. People locked in. People listened. People asked questions. And I'm hopeful that the conversation could continue. So even after the session is done, we can continue exchanging information and so on until we have our next program. Also, I want to encourage all who are here, before you leave, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube platform. Go to YouTube, look for Real Entertainment Network, subscribe, like, share, and click on the notification bell so that you're informed every time we have a program here on Real Entertainment Network. Want to say thanks again to Islander Water Sports on the Rocks restaurant over there, Imperial Rides, Shabba's Organics, and also want to encourage you, if you're listening and you want your business advertised, you can reach out to us, and you can also have your business advertised here on the platform. So thank you again, Mr. Walwyn. Thank you, Bankie. Thank you to all of our folks on the platform, all those who called in, and the Real Entertainment Network team behind the scenes. Thank you for giving us the extra overtime. We know you're busy guys, so we really thank you for the opportunity. So until Friday, when we come again your way with another edition of Everything Agriculture, and then next week when we have the premiere on, Premier Mark Brantley will be on next week, Tuesday, for another edition of the Topics. So you definitely want to subscribe. You want to be a part of the network so you don't miss it. So see you guys next week. On Friday.
I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. You tried to convince me it was all in my head, and I felt like it's not you, it's me instead. Hey, I wanted to rock with you, roll with you. Said you was my baby girl, then you left me too. Everything was kosher, perfect like a poster. Then I got word that you wanna leave a picture. Off with somebody else, off with the jerk. With the shame on me, I really thought that it could work. Off with somebody else, off with the loser. Shame on me, I really thought we had a. Lately I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations.
Laws are changing slow. Island by island, they're letting the old ways go. Decriminalization, 2 ounces in your hand. From Kingston to St. Kitts, across the sand. They're building industries, the medicine is gold. The colonial prohibition is finally growing old. But down in Dominica, the plan still brings the cuffs. And justice moves in rhythms that are never fast enough. But what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before there was a fee to pay? They're catching charges still today, while businessmen get rich. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's the paradox they pitch. Drum and debate, drum and debate. They built this on our suffering, now they wanna erase. Drum and debate, drum and debate. The same plant that fed our soul now locked behind a gate. Hey, Jamaica led the way back in 2015. 5 plants per household, the first to make it clean. St. Vincent opened up the medicinal trade, but the application fees too heavy to be paid. Trinidad says 30 grams, but 4 plants is a crime. 10 years behind the prison wall, still doing time. And in Antigua, 15 grams, the limit's drawn so low. The Rastafari cultivator still got nowhere left to go. But what about the elders, the ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before there was a fee to pay? They're catching charges still today, while businessmen get rich. Justice delayed is justice denied. The same plant that fed our soul now locked behind the gate. They call it sacramental use in the law books now. A license for a Rastafari, but tell me how when registration costs more than a farmer ever see. And the ones who held the knowledge ain't the ones with the degree. Professor Antoine said it clear, the little man is left. The CARICAM report call it obsolete and unjust. But 7 years have passed and the patchwork still remains. The ones who bore the heaviest weight still carry all the chains. St. Kitts gave the freedom of conscience act. Coming forward, that's a fact. But down in Dominica, no decrum in sight. And the symposium talk just fades into the night. Emmanuel Alexander stood up and he said, don't settle for the free license, lift the weight instead. You're fighting for something bigger than the paper that they signed. The sacrament was freedom long before it was a fine. So what about the elders? The ones who knew the way, who sanctified the sacrament before.
Yes, I am. Yeah, man, the show was real upful, you know? Yeah, man, give thanks. Yeah, real upful show.